fiery little verse. If you've been around church for a while, been a Christian for a while, you've probably heard this statement. If you're visiting and you're not even sure what a Christian is, then this message is going to be really great for you too. It's from Philippians 4, verse 13. So if you've got a Bible, iPhone, or you've memorized it, turn to that place in your brain. Philippians 4:13. Paul says this, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You reckon you can memorize that? Come on, let's say it together. Let's say that with a little bit more confidence. One more time. 1, 2, 3. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's an amazing statement of confidence. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. How many think Paul must have been having a really good day when he wrote that? You know what his circumstances were when he wrote that? He was actually in a prison. A couple of times in the letter, in fact, 4 times, he's talked about the chains. I'm in chains. So his circumstances aren't that great. He's in prison, and he's not even sure if he's going to get out of prison. So his confidence is not based on what he's going through. It's something on the inside. In fact, if you look at his broader life, sometimes I encourage people, if you're having a really bad day, take a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, write all your challenges on the left, and on the right, write everything that Paul went through. And without minimizing your challenges, you'll be feeling better already. Because he was in prison multiple times. He was beaten. He was whipped. He was betrayed by people. He was shipwrecked a couple of times. He was stoned with real stones. Life was not all easy for Paul. And yet he had this script on the inside of him that was one of confidence. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We all have scripts, just like a computer program, whether you're running Microsoft, Windows or Mac operating system or Linux. Every computer has a default script, so we all have scripts on the inside of us. Things that we believe about ourselves and God and life. Paul's script for his life was one of godly confidence. Regardless of the circumstances and the challenges and the weather report, I may be in prison right now, but I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's confidence, I can, but notice it's also dependence through Christ. Really, really important. Confidence, I can. Dependence through Christ. With God's help, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Paul had an incredible godly confidence. For me, growing up, I wasn't like Paul. I didn't have a script of godly confidence. I've got a photo of me in school. What a cute kid, you're thinking, right? That's me in school. Some of you aren't really sure that I really had red hair. Like I talk about red hair, you go, yeah, I'm not sure. So this is me. As you can see, I got red hair. I got a lot of freckles. And for us redheads, if our freckles all joined up, we'd be very brown, but they just don't. And look at the ears. I mean, you can see the ears, right? So hey, if you're laughing, let's see your primary school photo, But anyway, this is me as a kid. And I didn't have Paul's level of confidence. At this stage in my life, I wasn't saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I had a lot of insecurity. I had a lot of inferiority. My face would turn really red if people pointed me out in the crowd. I got embarrassed easy. I was quite shy. My script was, I'm not sure I can do anything. What do people think of me? Do people like me? I didn't have a script of confidence. And my journey through my life has been other people seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself and saying, hey, we think you can do this. And me going, oh, okay, I'll give it a try. And my journey's been one of having to overcome lack of confidence to gradually believe that I can be who God says I can be and I can do what God says I can do. Confidence for me didn't come naturally. It's been a journey. It's been something I've had to find. And so what about you here today? Where are you on the confidence spectrum? Are you like Paul today? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Or are you a little bit like me? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm a bit too young. Maybe I'm a bit too old. Maybe I'm too this, too that. Maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe you're filled with doubts and questions rather than confidence. Some people seem to be born with a great deal of natural confidence. Sometimes we see it in kids when they're young. Although I lack confidence, our kids have never lacked confidence. We've got 3 kids that are all 20-something, but I still remember Natasha. She was about 9, and she came to my office at the church after school one day, and I had a bit of work to do. I said, "Hey, do you just mind waiting, sweetheart?" And so she was in my office, and she started cleaning my drawers and organizing all my stuff and my papers, and she did a brilliant job. And I had a personal assistant then named Sue, a wonderful person. I said, "Tash, that's fantastic. Maybe you can do Sue's job one day." And she looked at me and said, "What about your job?" No lack of confidence. Now, she's 26 now, and she's not really interested in my job. But you got to love the confidence. Josiah, our oldest, he's just turned 30. He was the same. Still remember him, about 9 years of age. We were out with some friends on a farm down the peninsula somewhere, and we had a barbecue, and one family had a little Pee-wee motorbike. You know, those little Pee-wee motorbikes, and all the kids were jumping on it and buzzing around the acreage there. And Josiah was about 9. He says, "Hey, Dad, can I have a go?" I said, Sure, okay. Let David explain it to you." So he gets on the bike, and while David Turner's trying to show him where the brakes are, he goes, "I can do it," and takes off. And we're all running after him, and he freezes on the bike. And he's heading towards a barbed wire fence. And he hits that fence, tumbles over, and 5 or 6 stitches later that afternoon in hospital. Thankfully, he survived. But that's Josiah. I can do it. Still remember when he was 13, he bought a guitar one week, and he had a little strum in his room for a couple of days, and then he went down and tried out for youth band. And he came home so disappointed that they didn't see the potential that he had. Maybe you're a little bit like that. How many know life has a way of kind of knocking out the confidence that kids often have? So I don't know where you are on the confidence spectrum. Of course, we don't want to be overconfident. I, as a kid, eventually learned piano, and I actually got pretty good at piano in my high school days. And I got a little bit overconfident. In fact, I still remember year 12, we had a competition against a bunch of the high schools in sport and music and athletics, etc. And there was a piano solo category, and so I entered the piano solo. And I had a friend who I was kind of teaching the piano, and we found out that you could enter 2 people from the one school. And so I said, hey, Todd, how about you enter? I'll get first, you get second, let's do it. So we drove all the way from Portland, Oregon, up to Seattle. I was living in America there, and full auditorium, 1,000 kids, and a girl from another school got up, and she did her solo. She was okay. I got up. I had memorized this piece in D-flat major for all the musicians, and the judges had the music, and I started. And suddenly, with about 5 seconds into my piece, my mind went totally blank. Totally blank. And I have an amazing memory. It's never happened before since. And I meandered, and I sat down totally embarrassed. And my friend Todd got up, played his little chorus with all these little licks that I'd taught him. Anyway, that night at the awards, my friend Todd got first place. And I didn't even make it. I'm not talking about overconfidence. I'm not talking about arrogance, because when we get arrogant, God has a way of just going, "Hey, let's see what you can do without my help, without my assistance." So I'm not talking about arrogance or overconfidence. I'm talking about a godly confidence. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'll give you a little insight. I know a lot of leaders. I know a lot of well-known leaders. And you'd be surprised how many leaders struggle with confidence. Sometimes we look at people and think they're amazingly confident. A lot of people are like ducks, calm on the surface, paddling like mad underneath. It's true. Even well-known people of profile and influence sometimes struggle with doubts, with fears, with questions, and with lack of confidence. Timothy was a young leader in the first century. He had a good heritage, good family. He had good character. was a person of integrity, but he, like me growing up, was shy and lacking in confidence. Let's look at a verse that Paul wrote to him, 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. Timothy, for this reason, I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you, through the laying on of my hands. For God did not give us a spirit of fear, or God does not make us timid, the NIV says, but he gives us a spirit of power and love and self-discipline. Timothy had a spirit of fear, a feeling of intimidation. And although he was a person of good character, this fear was holding him back from the confidence that God needed him to have for his ministry. And so I wonder where your confidence is today. Do you have a strong sense of godly confidence? The great thing is when you encounter God, when you come to know God, God puts a confidence on the inside of you. It's not anything to do with personality, being loud or extrovert. It doesn't matter what your personality is. When you encounter God, he puts a confidence on the inside. And when you have a confidence that comes from God, it gives you a confidence in yourself. And it helps you to pass on confidence to other people, which is really important for all of us so that we can help other people grow in their confidence. Now, the main point of my message tonight, if you're looking for a title, it's How to Develop Confidence, is that confidence is not static. It's not something that stays the same. It's not like, I got confidence 20 years ago, don't need to hear about that anymore. Confidence, like faith, and like passion, confidence is vulnerable. Your confidence can grow and strengthen and enlarge. And how many know in a moment, you can lose your confidence? In just a moment, your confidence can take a hit. It can be knocked down. And so I want to, just in our few minutes together today, share with you some things that knock our confidence, and then some things that can build our confidence. And later after the meeting, when you go out for a coffee or hang out with some people, it'd be great for you to converse and think about what things have knocked your confidence over the years. Where are you most vulnerable to take a hit in your confidence? And what are some of the things that have built your confidence so that we, like Paul, can be men and women who have a godly confidence? Confidence comes under attack. As I think back through my journey, for me, many things have knocked my confidence through the years. Sometimes just a word of criticism. You can be flying really high and confident and going for it, and just a comment from a person can just knock your confidence. I still remember when I first became a pastor, I was in maybe the second year of being a senior minister, and I was loving it and going for it and praying and believing God to lead our church forward, and good things were happening, and I was feeling pretty confident. I had one of the intercessors in the church, God bless her, came and saw me, and she had a word for me that I was like Nebuchadnezzar, and I had pride in my heart, and that the church was like the Titanic. It was going to sink unless I humbled myself from my pride. Kind of a hard word to know what to do. Like, what do you say? No, I'm not proud. But I remember just what a knock it was to my confidence. Just one word from somebody can really hit your confidence. Disappointment is another thing that can knock your confidence. You're expecting something from someone or a situation, and you're confident that it's going to happen, then it doesn't happen. Things don't work out just the way you expected they would. Your confidence can take a hit. Doubts are another cause of our confidence being knocked. Just negative self-talk. How many know we all talk to ourselves? And sometimes we can allow doubts and questions just to erode our confidence. An unresolved conflict is another one. How many know when you've got an unresolved conflict tension, it just drains you? You're thinking about it all the time, and it really affects your confidence. For me, just making mistakes. Anyone ever made a mistake? Yeah, come on. You never made a mistake, never made anything. I've made lots of mistakes, and it's amazing how just a simple mistake can knock your confidence. Just a few years ago, when I was senior minister at City Life Church, I had a situation that just really kind of threw me. It was embarrassing, actually. At that time, my salary package included the use of a church car. And so I was using a Ford Territory, a really nice vehicle. And I was enjoying that. One day, I'd been working really, really hard, some long hours. I decided to knock off a bit early and buy some flowers and chocolates, go home and surprise Nicole, have a nice evening together. So I'm on the way home, driving along Stud Road in the eastern suburbs. I was thinking about, just surprising Nicole, the petrol tank was on empty, so I stopped and filled up with petrol, drove a couple of kilometers to the shops to get some flowers and chocolates, and the car was kind of shaking like this. Like, I thought, what's going on, And eventually it just stopped, and then I tried to drive it again. It actually wouldn't move. And I'm thinking, just tonight I want to go home and get home a little bit early. The car's broken down, and then I'm thinking, I put diesel in, didn't I? Like I know where the diesel is. In the Shell station, it's always in the middle, the black one, the diesel. I put diesel, and I got my receipt out, unleaded. I just filled the church's Ford Territory that takes diesel with unleaded, and I'd just driven a couple of kilometers, which is the worst thing. So, I call our business manager. We get the RSCV to come and pick me up. I had to get one of our pastors because I'm stranded in a shopping centre car spot now. RSCV's going, taking my car away. I'm doing a good thing. I'm going home, And pastor kind of had to pick me up. Hey, Pastor Mark. Long drive. My chocolates are half melted by now. Got home. Anyway, embarrassing moments. So anyway, a couple of weeks went by while they were figuring out how to fix it. And of course, staff was saying, hey, where's your car? I said, it's getting serviced. I mean, come on. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, I'm talking to business manager Gavin. Have you heard anything? Anyway, the first report came back. It's going to cost $18,000 to fix it. Like that was the first shock, and the second shock was we're not sure the insurance is going to cover it. Thank you for your sympathy. So another week goes by. Hey, where's your car? Still getting serviced. Yeah. Thank you. You can come to any of my meetings. Anyway, eventually, thank God, the insurance said they'd cover it. It was so expensive to fix that it was a write-off. The good news was we actually ended up getting another car, a Toyota Prado, and it was $220 less per month to hire. So I, in the end, ended up saving the church money. God works in mysterious ways. You know what they did for me in the new car? I've got a photo coming up. This is what they did on the new car for me. They put this little cap on just for people like me to make sure that I put the right fuel in the vehicle. Now, why do I tell that? You ever made a mistake? Come on, we've all had embarrassing moments. I'd keep you a long time if I told you all my embarrassing stories. But sometimes just a simple mistake, can just knock your confidence. Discouragement is another one. There's a fictional story of the devil selling off all of his tools. And there was a whole bunch of them for the same price, envy and bitterness and lust, and he was selling them off. And there was this one tool that was really worn down and old, and it was 10 times the price of the others. Someone said to the devil, why is this one so expensive? He says, that's discouragement. That was my most effective and commonly used tool. Discouragement can really knock your confidence. Fear, intimidation, comparison to others. That's a big one. There's always someone better than you, and there's always someone not as good as you. So if you're comparing yourself all the time, your confidence will always take a hit. And so don't compare yourself. God's gift to you is your potential. Your gift back to him is what you do with it. It's not about being better than anybody else. It's about being the best you can be. If you're comparing yourself all the time, your confidence is always going to take a hit. And so they're just some of the things that I've had to face and deal with that are always a threat to my confidence. I wonder what yours are. It's really good to think about. Where are you vulnerable? What knocks your confidence? Take some time to do that. Well, the great news is our confidence can grow. If you've lost your confidence, you can get it back. You can rebuild your confidence. Let me share a couple of things with you about how to build your confidence. First of all, is to see yourself as God sees you. See yourself as God sees you. You cannot constantly live or minister in a manner that is inconsistent with the way you see yourself. The way you see yourself is so important. And so if we could just see ourselves as God sees ourselves. You know the story when the 12 spies went into the promised land and they were checking it out, and there was some great land that God had for them. But 10 of the spies said, there's giants in the land. There's some challenges. And they looked at the giants, and then they looked at themselves, and they said, we are grasshoppers. If you think you're a grasshopper, then you'll act like a grasshopper. The 2 spies, Joshua and Caleb, they didn't ignore the giants, but they looked at the giants. Then they looked at God and they said, we are well able. They weren't ignoring the problems, but they were seeing the problem from God's perspective. Do you see yourself as well able for what's in front of you? Or do you see yourself as a grasshopper that's about to be squashed? The way you see yourself dramatically affects how you live your life. And so we need to see ourselves as God sees us. God loves every one of you here tonight. You are His child, and He loves you as His own child. You are loved. You are of great worth and value and significance. And if you could just believe that and see that, it affects everything. Some of you are saying, well, I don't know if I'm always lovable. You know, I'm a parent, and as I said, we have 3 kids. And if you ask me what I think about my kids, I would tell you they're the best kids in the world. If you lined up all the kids in a line, I'd pick those 3. They are the best kids in the world. Now, if you said, have they ever done anything wrong or disappointed you? I'd say, how long have you got? See, my love for them is not based on whether they're always doing well or not doing well. My love for them is based on the fact they are my children. Now, if I, as a flawed, imperfect, fallible, human parent, think that about my kids, what do you think God thinks about you? Bless you. We often think that God's view of us goes up and down based on how we're doing. God's orientation towards you is one of love. You are His child. See, the prodigal son had a negative view of the father's perspective. I am no longer worthy, because he'd made some mistakes. The older brother had an elevated view. I've never disobeyed you. The father said to both of them, all I have is yours, and I am always with you. My love for you is not based on how well you may be doing. And so if we can just see ourselves as God sees us, when you have a security that I'm a child of God, He loves me, it gives you a godly confidence. In fact, when you're secure inside, you're able to impart confidence to others. It's been said that insecure people, when they walk into a room, their script is, here I am. Please notice me. How am I doing? Is my shirt okay? Is my zip up? Do you like my hair tonight? Insecure people, it's all, here I am. Confident people, when they walk into a room, you know what their script is? There you are. It's actually not about them, it's about you. And when you have a confidence on the inside of you, no longer are you thinking about yourself and what everyone else thinks about you. In fact, one of the keys to confidence when you speak or when you get up and do something is to stop thinking about yourself. When I get up tonight, nervousness still happens. Anyone heard of butterflies in your stomach? The aim is not to get rid of the butterflies, but to get them to fly in formation. But one of the keys to overcoming nervousness is to stop thinking about yourself. If I get up here and I'm thinking, do you like me? Is this okay? Am I connecting to? The more you think about yourself, the more nervous you get. But if I get up here and say, no, this is about you. God wants to speak to you. Today, God wants to grow your confidence. When I start thinking about you, I forget about myself. And your confidence grows. So begin to see yourself as God sees you. Another way to grow your confidence is to learn all that you can. Learn, gain some skills, go do a class, go learn about yourself, go develop some abilities. See, you'll find in life, it's easy when you know how. Have you noticed that? There's stuff that you can do confidently because you know how. But when you don't know how, you lack confidence. Funny story, a few years ago, we had someone come do some training with our staff, and he took out 3 tennis balls and he started juggling them. And we were all pretty impressed. And he gave the staff 3 tennis balls each. He says, have a go. And so we all tried to juggle. And so we had balls hitting the ceiling, the window, people bouncing off like it was just chaos. He says, okay, sit down. Take a piece of paper. How do you feel? How do you know when you try to do something you can't, your confidence goes? I feel uncoordinated. I feel stupid. You have negative feelings when you can't do something. Anyway, through the day, he did some training with us, and he also taught us the science of juggling. And he showed us how you've got to have an imaginary window in front of you, and you get the first ball to the top of the window, and just as it gets there, you get the second ball over to the right, and then the third ball. So he explained the science of juggling to us. He then gave us the 3 tennis balls again. He said, have a second try. He came around, and he coached us. And by the end of the day, we were all juggling. He says, take a piece of paper, write down, how do you feel? Fantastic, amazing. Can't wait to go home and show the kids. What's the point? It's easy when you know how. When you don't know how, you lack confidence. It's like, Jordan, how did you do that on the piano tonight? How did you do that? You know? Well, he's learned a few things before the meeting tonight. That's not the first time he's played. I think. It's the same in every area of life. And so if you want to gain confidence, then learn. There's so many ways to learn today. Find someone who can unpack the science of what you would like to do. And your confidence grows when you begin to learn. Get some experience. We all love David and Goliath, don't we? That's a great story. You come to me, I come to you in the name. Oh, what a confident kid. But you know where he gained his confidence? He gained his confidence out in the field when no one was looking, when a bear came against the flock. And another day, a lion came against the flock. And you know what? Defeating the bear and the lion when no one was looking gave him the confidence to beat Goliath in front of the whole nation. You don't just arrive there. And so, what's the bear that you need to defeat? What's the lion you need to defeat? What experience you need to gain in a small space that will give you confidence possibly in a bigger space? And so gain experience. Learn from your mistakes. Learn from your failures. I love basketball. Michael Jordan's probably the best player who ever played the game. And listen to this quote from Michael Jordan. He says this, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games, 26 times. I was trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Amazing. You're going to have confidence. You got to get used to making some mistakes, some failure. Here's another one from Abraham Lincoln coming up on the screen now. Abraham Lincoln was born into poverty. He faced defeat. He lost 8 elections. He failed twice in business. He suffered a nervous breakdown, and he said this, success is going from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. That's amazing, isn't it? You're going to keep your confidence, then you've got to see yourself the way God sees. You've got to learn all you can from others, from experience, even from mistakes and failures. Allow other people to speak into your life. What people mirror to us can be very powerful. And sometimes people can mirror negativity and they can knock our confidence. It's great to have people around us who build up our confidence. That's one of the things I love about church and community and doing life together as we're doing here at Bayside is that we become a community that encourages one another. At my dad's funeral, a man came out from America, Ken Molman. He taught in Bible college for many years with my dad, kind of a son in the faith to my dad. But I still remember Ken. I was only about 17 or 18, and he was a leader in church. He took me out to lunch, and he said to me somewhere in the lunch, "Hey, Mark, I just want you to know you're a young man, but God's hand is clearly on your life. He's called you to be a leader. And I reckon you've got a great future." You know, I left that lunch feeling about a foot taller than I already am. See, a lot of people have thought that, but no one had ever said that to me. And so allow others to speak into your life. And let's be a community that puts confidence into one another. You can do this. You're going to do a great job. Let's be a community that mirrors confidence to each other. And of course, finally, is to cling to God. We're talking about godly confidence. And, fear never goes completely away. I remember when I was a young leader talking to someone about fear. And I seemed to never be able to fully conquer fear. Like it was always there. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, Mark, a certain amount of fear is actually healthy for you because it keeps you dependent on God. If you're never afraid, then you're going to get into overconfidence. So a certain amount of fear keeps you prayerful. But if the fear is paralyzing, then you know it's from the enemy. And that's the fear you need to rebuke and take authority over and overcome. But a certain amount of fear actually keeps us trusting in God. And so, simple message tonight. Paul had this script. I can do all things because of Christ who is strengthening me. That wasn't always the script of my life. I've had to grow in confidence. Where's your confidence tonight? Is it strong, or maybe it's needing building up? Wouldn't it be great if here at Bayside we were a community where we have a script that says we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us? Bayside has a great history, but a great vision for the future. And we want to be a community that's one of godly confidence, individually and together. And so confidence, it rarely strikes us like a lightning bolt. Sometimes you've just got to step out and be confident and trust that through an encounter with God, His confidence will flow through you. I want to give you two statements for us to repeat. I want you to say this after me. I can be what God says I can be. I can do what God says I can do. Will you say that one more time? I can be who God says I can be. And I can do what God says I can do. That's a godly confidence. And I pray that you will have an incredible growing confidence in your heart to be what God has called you to be and to do what God has called you to do. Everyone said amen.